morning and welcome to Mornin with Bill and Joe. I'm Joe.
I'm not Joe. Can you hear me still? My little snow globe microphone just fell. I was very scared.
You know what? It looks like you're not even using the snowball mic,
Oh,
says your info on the side of my screen. But hey, I can hear you great. So let's keep going.
okay. Happy New Year to you. How tell me everything. How was it?
Oh, it was good. Just low key went to a friend's apartment literally a block away, which is so nice.
Yeah.
Didn't have to take public transit, didn't have to take cabs. So yeah, it was good. We played some games, we just chatted, watched a little bit of Anderson Cooper getting drunk, all you could want.
I actually sad I missed that. There's always a couple of nuggets with him and Andy getting warm up, both up. And also Anderson Cooper's alarming giggle. Did he do any of that?
Oh,
Like it's
oh
basically
yeah.
that. Yeah.
The more he drinks. And it's so funny because weren't they not allowed to drink for a little bit, but then somehow they brought it back? I don't know.
Good for them. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the only reason to watch. Oh, I want to see Anderson Cooper sober. You see the ratings on that?
Yeah, not
Nah,
not as good.
not as good. No, no, no. I like him and his girlish squeals every time Andy says something inappropriate.
But how was your New Year's? You are clearly back in New York, but you were in, where were you? West
Um,
Palm Beach?
Hold on. No, the peasants are in
Oh,
West Palm
oh,
Beach.
forgive me.
I was in Palm Beach proper,
Okay.
and the locals are very clear on the difference. By the way,
Oh, of course.
and yeah, now there's like so many things like Palm Beach Lakes or something like people would have Palm Beach in everything, even if it's 50 miles away because it helps with the real estate. And the actual island itself is very not for that. They do not like that at all.
Yeah,
The
but
bastardization of their good name. But I sent some photos, but they're not that great. We don't need to get to them. But yeah, it was just you could smell the money. Unfortunately, I didn't see Musk, who apparently lives in Mar-a-Lago now, essentially. And I didn't see any Trump. I don't know if you remember this. There was one year where I was going there, and it was definitely when we were doing morning, but it was at the tail end of the Trump administration. And I remember I saw this girl, and I'm like, she looks familiar. And I also noticed, which
oh
also,
yeah.
yeah, which also helps you stick out. She seems to be escorted by four dudes in sunglasses.
You were at the airport, weren't you?
I was at the airport, and it was Tiffany Trump, and
Yeah.
I went over and gave her my card. And then the security guy, and I don't even know, I was sober, by the way. I hadn't even been drinking. I was like, when else are you going to do this? And so she's in my flight. But it's interesting she was still flying commercial, instead of like a private plane. But
Yeah.
she was, of course, first class, and the three of them were sitting like behind her and in front of her and next to her. And I kind of go by and I'm like, Tiffany, like I just wanted to give you my card. I'm going to be in Palm Beach myself. I think I was trying to recruit her for the show, but I don't know what I was saying. But immediately the Secret Service guy comes up and takes the card from me, and she's just sitting there giggling. And
Well,
I mean, he,
paper cuts are a real threat, Bill.
thank you. Yeah, I know. And I was definitely in the middle of a very terrorist look about me. I mean, I'm sure I look disheveled, but
Did you have your cast at that time?
that's a great question. I don't think so. I think that was during the
Okay.
Biden years. I
Okay.
think it was before that, but yeah, that would have looked shady as well. Um, I actually kind of thought she was cute. A lot of people, people keep saying she's no Ivanka, but I thought she was
Bill,
fine
you
by
just
me.
have a thing for blonde, short-ish women associated with Trump.
Neither of them are that short. But that's as close as I ever got to the Trump family. And like, you can't even get near Mar-a-Lago. They've got now like
Yeah.
robot dogs, those things that we would do tapes of now. They've got that
Oh,
on the golf
sure.
course.
We
And
we used to do all the Boston Dynamics videos from years ago, but now they're just like out in public.
oh yeah, yeah. Now you can actually purchase one for all your security needs.
Wow.
And then they've got Secret Service in the water next to it. And as we were doing our last tape, where I was, flights were all diverted so that you couldn't go exactly across Mar-a-Lago, which the neighbors obviously hate. So it's just every 5 minutes you hear a plane. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, well, that sounded fun.
Other than that, not too eventful. I saw Tara Jakeway. She lives
Oh,
nearby. We met
yes.
up with her. She says hello. And yeah, other than that, very low key, which is just my speed.
Bill, everyone is dying to know since our last episode, how is the generic Chantix working? How is the curbing of the smoking going?
I mean, I'm doing it less, but it's not out of my system. And I think once I stop with the drinking once, then maybe it will go all. I'm down to my last two, and I'm still smoking. I mean, I'm not smoking nearly as much as I used to, just a
Okay.
couple a day, so that's good. But I wonder what happens when the pills stop, huh? But
Yeah, I'm not a doctor. I know that's surprising. So I'm not sure.
you're a doctor bartender.
Yeah, but I'm not a doctor smoker. What?
And you still sound like one, by the way. A little stopped up.
It's just the mucus likes to hang on, which is the name of my next book. It's a scratch and sniff book, don't you know? Um,
Moneymaker.
uh, Last night was the Golden Globes. Did you watch?
I ended up watching a good amount of it. I taped it, which is the way to go, because I just would fast forward to the Nikki Glazer parts. The rest
Yeah,
of it is crap. And unfortunately, there was huge portions. I wonder if they were like punishing her for something she said, but there were huge portions where she wasn't in it at all, and it
yeah.
was just celebs talking about how awesome celebs are, you know. But other than that, Nikki was very funny.
Yeah,
Um,
I watched this morning on YouTube. They put her like 10-minute opener up.
okay, yeah, that was good.
So good.
Mhm.
Really great. This was the first Golden Globes where a female hosted by herself,
Okay,
which is a big deal. But the thing I heard, Bill, is that it's actually really hard to find people who want to host
oh,
these awards shows because it is a ton of work and it's actually not a lot of pay. So
interesting.
yeah. But Nikki did so great that I, as a viewer, would love for her to come back. Her jokes were, she's great at the roasts, and she
Mhm.
definitely had elements of that. But what I like about her roasts is it's such a great blend of the self deprecating mixed with the celebrity shaming, but it's done so in like, it really does feel fun.
Yeah,
And it's like a really good balance of mean and playful and smart.
she has that little patented Nikki Glazer smirk of like, I just said something bad, or something like, I'm about to get in trouble. Like, it's very endearing. Yeah, she looked good too. She
Oh,
smoked.
yeah. There was definitely mention of Ozempic.
Yeah,
But another thing is, I was watching some TikToks because that's where I get all my news now.
sure.
And there was a woman who was saying that a lot of the commercials during the Golden Globes were for Ozempic and
Oh
like the
God, yeah,
generic Ozempic.
yeah.
And it's kind of crazy because I'm just thinking about, celebrities clearly will start or encourage trends, especially in body and the way we look. You just look at the Kardashians, right? Everyone was getting those butt implants. Everyone was getting, their face, their makeup looking the same as them. And now they're all shedding the weight. And it's like we're getting back to the waif thin celebrity look. And like diet pills used to be the big thing that everyone did. Then we learned how awful they were for you. It's just I don't know. I'm nervous for the long-term effects of these drugs.
I keep waiting for the long term effects of Botox to present themselves because again, that is a drug that is not that old. I
Yeah.
would say it's about 20, a little over 20 years old. So we still don't know the long term effects of that one, which is essentially people injecting botulism into their skin.
Yeah.
But I don't even think about it anymore because it has gotten to the point where I almost as if I need a rubber band around my wrist every time I were to mention that I have some misgivings about this thing because I'm a man of a certain age and I know a lot of girls that are my age too. And anytime I bring up, I all of a sudden realize just from the looks of their face, oh, they do it. They do it all the time. And it's not awesome to hear me talk about how I don't necessarily know if this is good for us. And so I've certainly gotten out of that habit to the point where I just edit all this out.
Well, but speaking of and movies and celebrities, I now if I watch older movies and I look at these actresses and I'm like, "Oh, wow. Look at their wrinkles. Like look at their
Oh,
facial
sure. Yeah.
expressions."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I love it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
well,
alone in that.
the more awards Nicole Kidman wins, the more you're going to be reminded of that. Because, boy, she is example A in all of that. It's as if she is wearing a Nicole Kidman mask at this point.
Keith Urban was with her at the Globes. Nikki Glaser had a great joke, um, like saying, "Thank you, Keith Urban, for just annoyingly playing your guitar around the house so Nicole wants to leave and make 18 movies a year."
I missed that one. I guess I'm only about halfway through. But no, she was great. She did a good job.
As far as and spoilers, if you DVR'd or are watching on demand and haven't seen the results yet, Wicked did not win a lot.
Yes, yes,
They
yes, yes.
won for box office. Apparently, that's an award now.
Yeah,
I thought the award for having the most box offices, I don't
was
know, having the highest grossing box office, like your reward is literal money.
not to
Uh,
mention what's the suspense there? You already sort of know who won.
yeah,
You know, it's in the trades.
but so yeah, Ariana Grande did not win. Cynthia Erivo did
Yes.
not win.
I don't
Wicked
I don't
did
like
not
either of
win.
them. I'm just sick of them both. They're both very annoying to me.
Yeah,
Um,
well, I mean, who knows if this will be now moving forward the agreed upon sentiment that yeah, people are kind of
over it. Yeah.
yeah.
That's usually
But it
how it
was
works.
actually the movie Amelia something with Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez that won most of the awards.
Hmm. I barely am even aware of it. I know I've seen the clip and I was very upset to learn that it's mostly in Spanish.
Yeah,
I like the subtitles, but
I know.
good for them. Good for
It's
them, I
hard to do
guess.
two things at once when you're watching something with
Thank
subtitles.
you for saying that. Most
Yeah.
people want to say that. Most people want to present themselves as smart, and I'm not. And I'm either paying attention to subtitles or paying attention to what's going on the screen. Can't do both.
Well, oh no, I meant just like scrolling on your phone while watching
Mm.
a movie.
Oh,
Um,
that too.
but the nice thing about being married, Bill, and this should really be your only reason to do it if you ever do, is
This could be a good seg, actually.
when you're sitting next to your partner and you're watching a movie and subtitles come up or text on the screen, and you notice that your partner is on their phone and not watching, you read it out loud for them. At least that's what Douglas and I do. We'll be like, "Oh, October 1798."
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, that shows to me that you guys are still okay in this very tricky month. I don't know if this is a couples counseling. Well, it definitely is, but
Okay,
it's up
great.
to you.
I've got a master's in psychology. Look at my diploma on the wall. I am really great. I am really great at couples counseling. Hey, Joanne, argue with herself, girl. You crazy.
This is divorce month, Joe.
Divorce month?
Yes.
Okay.
It has earned that title thanks to that this is the time when most people file for divorce. And when you think about all the things that came right before January, it makes a little bit of sense. It is absolutely true that for the first month of the year, and in particularly the first half of it, it is the highest of either new clients or divorce filings, said attorney Laura Wassner, who has represented multiple celebrities in their divorces. Is there any other kinds? Additionally, a 2020 study from Richard Nelson LLP combined ahead of Divorce Day found that searches such as DIY divorce, quickie divorce, and divorce my partner rose by over 100%
Wow.
during the new year. Inquiries for divorce lawyers also increased by 30% in January. So this isn't a small amount here. Where problems already exist with the stress of creating the perfect Christmas and the money troubles. Can I divorce myself? I have that, which often accompany this. Many couples often see the Christmas period as the final straw in their relationship, says a consultant solicitor with the hell is that? Um, they hate on for the Christmas period, often for the sake of their children and family, but the threads of their relationship unravel shortly thereafter. To navigate the complex emotions of a January divorce, it's important to allow yourself to feel all the emotions, Joe, and get but see you don't have any, and
No.
give yourself time to grieve. Writes a psychologist for Forbes. Since divorce is an emotionally charged life event, it is also advised not to make any other major life changes while you're in the middle of it. So there you go. That's this time of year.
You know, I get it, right? New year, you're like, okay, it's gonna happen. This will be better for me, healthier for
Oh,
me, whatever. But most people who are finally getting the divorce lawyer, doing the paperwork, they've been separated for like a bit. So the divorce part
interesting.
is not necessarily the sad emotional part.
Right.
That's the paperwork. That's just the like, this has been done. Let's get it done.
Good
At
point.
least from, the people I know who have gone through separation and divorce, like that's kind of been it. Like the separation lasts kind of a while. Sometimes tax purposes too.
Yes.
So maybe January, the start of a new year, they're then like, okay, we finished out the year. We were separated, but still married. So for taxes, it'll be fine. But now, okay.
Right. No, that makes sense. Well, then screw this article. I mean, but so again, I mean, I know a lot of people. I certainly know a lot of people who got divorced, but I don't. Oftentimes I'm not aware of the specifics. So some people don't just, but like the Googling of the do-it-yourself divorce and stuff like that, that to me seems like the first germ or before the announcement, the separation, all of that. I don't know.
Sure. But God, Bill, you and I, we both Google a lot of stuff. Okay. And God, a lot of my Google searches, there's no follow through. It's just, like, how do I cook a chicken? Never done it, but I've Googled it. I've Googled it.
That explains the largest amount of numbers in this number-filled article were about the Google searches. Yeah, not necessarily the divorce itself. Yeah, I guess wishful thinking for the aggrieved spouse, but not necessarily any follow through.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Would there be, I don't know that there is a good time of year to get a divorce.
The tax thing must have something to do with it, but I don't really
Yeah.
necessarily know how taxes play with marriage and leaving a marriage. So, the last person to ask. You know what? I shouldn't have even done this article. I apologize to America.
Finally, God,
Uh,
America has been waiting.
I mean, I think America's Googling how to divorce me.
Speaking of me not cooking,
Oh boy.
this isn't an article. I'm just sharing that I went to dinner last night.
Oh, okay.
That's it. I had a girlfriend in town. She lives in LA, but she came to New York and it's her birthday. So happy birthday, Audra.
So for her
Um,
birthday, she wanted to leave beautiful LA for this.
she has a sister in Connecticut, so
Gotcha.
she's
Yeah.
making her way. But she was like, "Yeah, like would you and Douglas want to come to dinner with me and my husband?" She's like, "I'm in the mood for Italian." And I remembered I know a sommelier who works at this Italian restaurant we haven't been to in New York. We went to its location in Rome, in Italy. It's called Roscioli.
Roscioli.
I'm pronouncing that 100% right. And
Half of you is.
yeah, the Ukrainian half is like, what? But it's like, it's so cute. It's really good, like homemade pastas. They have meats and cheeses. The location in Rome is like the front of it is sort of a deli sort of a look. They have
Mm.
like cans of tomatoes and sardines and olive oil, and it's just really cute. And then in the back, there's like tables for the restaurant. But New York, the vibe is a little more restaurant-y, but they took care of us. They sent us like a lot of food. They sent us a lot of wine, and everything was incredible. So if you are looking for a restaurant in New York City, Bill, you can't afford it, but anyone who's listening or watching, Roscioli is great.
To that end, though, I hate being treated. I'd rather just have normal amount of service. Because the whole time that you're saying that, I'm getting stressed out that I've got to tip more. That's all
Yeah.
that's going through my head. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, well, you tip more, but you didn't pay as much for your total bill
I guess,
because
but yeah. But
they, you know,
it sounds to me that they were offering you tastings of things that you didn't ask for. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I wasn't going to have this anyway, and now I'm paying for it.
this is why you're not fun to go to dinner with, Bill.
This is why,
This is
yeah.
why I never ask you to dinner.
I don't blame you. It would be very stressful for me. And you're giving me flashbacks at Palm Beach. Oy.
Wait, did you do dinners in Palm Beach?
Yes, I was not with someone who was actually, she is a very good cook, but we did not do a lot of that.
Mm.
Oy, and you feel guilty that you're there, but like anytime the waiter was overly nice or gave us stuff that we didn't necessarily need, I'm just like, oh God, just go. I almost wanted to do something to upset him so he would be less nice to us, so I didn't have to tip like fucking 40% or whatever. But I hate it. I hate going to restaurants. See, look what you've done to me.
Hey, well, this is actually a good segue. Speaking of spending a lot of money,
Oh boy.
New York City men complain dating is
Oh
too
yes,
expensive.
I thought you'd like that one.
It takes me about $1,000 to realize I don't really like somebody, is a quote from Benny Boas, a 31-year-old CEO of an educational tech startup who lives on the Upper East Side. Hey, Benny, you're the CEO of a startup?
Startup.
Oh, yeah, I
And
guess.
hey, you know what? I'm CEO of Bill Schultz Corporate. It's a startup, but still,
That's true.
I'm the CEO.
So this is an article in, where is this from? Oh, the New
The
York
Post.
Post,
Yeah,
my
I thought you were
favorite,
like. I'm actually going to be interested in your thoughts on this.
written by Beth Landman. In the past 6 years, the price of eating out in New York City has increased nearly 30%. Yes, I have seen it from working in restaurants. Prices have gone up, quality, not so much. Charles Gargano says you can really dig yourself into a hole. Although this guy is a 31-year-old attorney,
Oh, screw him.
so he can maybe afford it. He recently went on a date with a Staten Island woman. Wanting to be a gentleman, he offered to meet her at a restaurant near her home and ended up spending $150 to Uber there. Dude, you're Upper East Side and you're choosing to go out with a woman on Staten Island. That is your fault.
And by the way, as one who dated a Staten Island girl for quite some time, they don't pay. So yeah, there's no Dutch there. Even about 2 years in, she didn't pay.
Mm,
But yeah, so good luck, pal.
you just know how to pick them.
Yeah, I do. I don't think
Odds
she paid
are,
when she was on The View.
this one guy said, odds are I'll never see this person again. There's no ceiling on the price at some of these sushi places. I'm
Of
not saying
course.
the woman has to get a California roll,
What's wrong
but
with
the
the California
waiters
roll?
start with, this was flown in overnight, and it's a half-inch piece of fish I've never
Oh,
heard of.
this. You know what, Joe? Normally, I never say the word triggered. All of this is triggering me. The minute you said flown in overnight, I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
my wall's burning.
So now this guy says he's meeting more casual meetups at a Turkish spot called La Turca, where entrees range from $22 to $38. Is this just an ad for La Turca?
Oh yeah.
He says, I'm fun, but I'm not Rockefeller. Who needs a $500 date? You can go somewhere for the weekend at that point. But some women don't want the cheaper dates.
What?
Casey
Whoa. That's
Caras-
what.
Casey Karasaridis,
These are all friends with
26,
the
an
writer.
esthetician who lives in the Bronx, says, if someone asks me out for a coffee or a drink, it's a no. She recalled a dating guru telling her, even a homeless guy can buy you a cup of coffee.
But doesn't he really want to?
God, that just sounds so entitled, which
Yeah.
just sounds like me.
I was gonna
But
say, are you sure that wasn't your pseudonym?
she says if a man doesn't take her to dinner, they obviously don't value me.
The
Ooh.
value.
Jasmine, God, they interviewed so many people for this. Good for you, Beth.
They're all
Jasmine
her friends.
Mellis Oh yeah, right. A
Yeah.
42-year-old hairstylist who lives in Staten Island. Yeah, everyone in this is Upper East Side or Staten Island. So
Weird.
clearly her parents are still on Staten Island and she lives on the Upper East Side.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
You know how it works.
This hairstylist thinks some creative alternatives come across as stingy. Guys suggest a sports bar and act like it's fun, but it's just
It is
cheap.
fun. Oh, I hate this girl. I
She
hope
says
she's still single.
She says, I'm a carnivore and I get hungry, so I just say, I'm going to eat and I'll pay for it. But don't think I'm going home with you. God, none of this is fun or romantic or cute.
Hey, carnivore, you know what they got? Buffalo wings. And plenty of them at these sports bars.
Bill, what would be if money were not an issue, which it clearly is for you, but if it were not, what would be your ideal first date?
You and I have talked about this before, that even when I was making a little bit of bread, and I was actually paid in loaves. That's like a literal comment. But I would always think the drinks, because
Yeah.
if for no other reason, not that I'm cheap, I'm actually not that cheap. I wince and get angry that I'm spending the money, and no one likes that. I whine a lot, but I'm not cheap. But with the drinks, if it ain't going good, you're out. You don't gotta
Yeah.
wait for no entree. You don't gotta wait for all that stuff, and it's just for no other reason than that. And I feel like you were in agreement with that. So that's why I don't get any of these girls that don't feel valued. I suppose it's because they're not. Like the guy gets one look at him and he's like, "You want to make it just drinks?" But good.
Yeah, I think drinks sort of is the way to go, because then even if you're going Dutch drinks, my favorite kind. No,
Oh,
even
so
if you're
good.
splitting the bill, then it's like it's affordable for
Mm-hmm.
both people, or it maybe could even encourage the guy to pay for you too if it's just a drink,
Sure.
versus a flown in piece of sushi. Uh I would say probably my least favorite type of first date was the comedy club,
Oh, okay.
because you don't get to talk.
No.
Like, that is the date of choice for a guy who doesn't really have a personality,
Yeah.
because he has nothing to talk about. He knows he's not funny, so he's like, well, I still want her to laugh, so I'll bring her to a comedy show. And then inevitably, that guy has you sitting in the front row. So the comic calls on you for crowd work, and you have to say you're on a first date. And it's just not enjoyable for anybody.
God, and even as a friend thing too, that reminds me. I was saved for the fact that Andrew Schultz was on the dais, and left me alone when they realized that he knew me.
Mm,
But before that, I went with Noelle and another friend of hers to a thing, and I think I told you. And of course, we didn't ask for it, but of course, they put us third row in, and immediately she made me change so that I'm on the aisle. And Jim Norton, of course, made a bunch of lesbian jokes about me, and I was just the butt of it. And obviously, you don't fight back; you just sit there and take it.
hmm
But it's just like, ugh, and it's one, and that was just with a pal, like on a date. Ugh, give me a break. Because a lot of times you don't know where you're sitting.
Sure. Well, right, that's the unknowns. You typically want first dates where there's less of those variables, because
Right.
you're already nervous. You don't know much about the person. You want to be in as much control as possible. Or maybe that's just my type A personality coming
There's
out.
that.
But we have been very fortunate living in New York City. There is truly so much to do. There are
Yeah.
so many bars, so many different types of bars, so many, even if you didn't want to do a bar, there's still so many activities or things that you could do and not get killed, right? Like, because it's in public. I think about places like rural farmland, whatever. Even like, let's go on a hike, I think murder. Let's go to the beach, I think murder, because there's less people around and way more dangerous.
I think just because she feels sorry for me, Lauren's been encouraging me to try to do dating and not try to, and just do something that's like an activity so that I'm not spending money. I'm of course not going to do it. And she would give me examples like, I went on this one date where this guy didn't have that much money, and we did A, B, and C, and it's like all these cheap activities. And she's like, it was great. It was one of the most fun. But I remember thinking, you're not dating him now, are you? This sounds like a
Yeah.
one-off. So how great was it? But Yeah, there's and this is not an encouraging article as far as that's concerned either. But yeah, dinner thing. Ugh. Just my advice: don't date people. You know what?
Yeah.
Being alone ain't that bad. There are worse things.
Yeah. I mean, it is an investment, $1,000
Mm.
to figure out
I
you
mean,
don't
I've never been on anything like that,
like
but
someone. That
yeah.
just sounds though like you don't know what you want. I could probably tell after $5 if someone's worth 5 more or not.
Well, you're a dirty little millennial, so I mean, that my generation, is still very much the guy pays. But I've noticed very much so that the younger people, that is not necessarily the case. Would you often go on a date where Little Princess actually went Dutch? I can't even imagine that for you.
I think the only times I really did offer and was like, "Please," was when I was not into the guy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And women, this is my advice for you. If you want a guy to pay, make them think you're offering because you're not into it. And then he'll be like, no, 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 I got it. I got it. Because as soon as you're like, I want to pay, that means you're not going to sleep with them.
You devious.
And I
Ugh.
think they want to keep that illusion going. So they're like, no, no, no,
Of
let me
course.
do it. Because then it's like, I still have a chance.
I am not a huge fan of karaoke. I could take it or leave it. It's just not on my bucket list of things to do in a night. But I will say, 2 separate times I went out with someone. One of them actually was on Morning, and it was a first date that was involved karaoke, and it took all of my self control to not roll my eyes. I got lucky on both those dates, so that would be my advice to dudes. I don't know
Hmm.
what it is about karaoke, but for whatever reason, I don't know.
Wait, what was your song choice?
I'm trying to remember. There was a couple duets, but it was the second one was the one. I don't even really get this, where you go into your own room.
Yeah.
You're not in the club with everyone else.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but
See, I think for a
there's
first
an
date,
endorphin thing, I guess. I don't know.
it's better to not do the private room because then you're just taking turns doing your own version of Eminem
That's what you wanted. Yes.
or,
Well, see, but
you
I never
know,
do anything serious. Like if I'm going to do
yeah.
it, I'm going to do definitely. I want it that way. I'm going to do like a boy band thing.
Oh,
you don't do anything
that's your
that
strategy.
Eminem.
Okay.
Yeah, Eminem is a little too. That's like, yeah, I'm gonna show what a badass I am. No, 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 no. You got to do some Elton John. You got to do, either something very boy bandy, very gay, redundant, I suppose. Something like that,
Mhm.
or anthems, or I don't know.
Well, at
You can't
least,
take yourself seriously.
yeah, and you shouldn't take other people seriously too. That's why I like the karaoke with more people, whether it's like a
Yeah,
group situation or just an open bar that does it, because then you can comment on the other people. Like that itself, if you have nothing else to talk about, at least then you can talk with your date about the song choice of that person, how good or how awful they are, if you like the song or not. Like at least there's like stimulus or stimuli there to
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
keep like the vibe going.
yeah, and I very much like the fact of making fun of other people and stuff like that. That's a good way to. It's always bonding to have another target in situations like that.
Or just
Everyone
like
needs to.
something to comment on that
There's
isn't yourselves.
Speaking of comments,
Okay.
is that a seg? Boy, Lily Phillips, this
Oh yeah.
influencer, she may be at odds with Airbnb. I hope she's going to still be able to use them. But she's been at the center of controversy. Center spelled CENTRE, which tells me that this is a Daily Mail
Yep.
article. After filming herself having sex with 101 men in a single day while live streaming the marathon session on the adults only site that is OnlyFans. It's much more than that, guys. The Daily Mail reveals that the stunt took place in a £1,000,000 property. I can't do the math on what that would be in the dollars. In one of London's poshest districts, Notting Hill, don't you know? Residents told of their shock after discovering the gorgeous garden flat in a converted Victorian house was invaded by a horde of unauthorized guests. Horde's a good word. Taking part in the challenge. Incredibly, no complaints seem to have been made by the families living in nearby homes, and they were unaware of what was happening right at their doorstep. With some apparently confusing visitors for workmen. Well, they were doing something. After Lily had left the properties, the host wrote on an Airbnb website, Lily is a lovely guest, keeping to all the house rules and a good communicator prior to arrival. Lily's exploits were captured in a 50-minute documentary entitled, very literal, I slept with 100 men in a day. And that was posted on YouTube last week, which has now got 2.7 million views. The people that own the place eventually found out.
Right.
Footage shows one family with two kids walking by as men from around the world show up at the property set in what estate agents describe as a beautiful street of elegant stucco-fronted Victorian houses. After finally discovering Lily's antics, one of the property's hosts, called Carol, told the Daily Mail, we've been made aware of this now. Unfortunately, we did not know anything about it when she was done with the flat, and there was no sign of anything when she left. Lily's stay at the apartment in October appears to have violated a number of Airbnb's ground rules, which prohibit guests from carrying out sex work or the creation of commercial pornography, photos, or videos. I love that they have to explicitly state that due to obvious prior problems in the past.
Yeah.
House rules include respecting the number of approved guests, while disruptive gatherings are prohibited. The apartment is one of 6 conversions in the large terrace property, which is home to a number of young professionals. Said one neighbor, I had no idea. I hadn't heard anything, but this is so crazy. It's super weird, and I didn't even know that was legal. I am so shocked as I hadn't seen or noticed anything. Lily grew up in a well-off family in Derbyshire, and dreamed as a child of running in a wedding dress shop. She worked various jobs, including stacking shelves at Tesco and waitressing, but dropped out of university after discovering the lucrative work of only signs. She seemed to overcome with emotion at the end of the session, saying through tears, it's not for weak girls. If I'm being honest, it was hard. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
But then in like the next breath, I'm pretty sure she said she wants to go for 1,000.
Yes, ma'am. In a single day to in a bid to break the world record. How is that? There aren't enough hours. I mean, it's 24.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to yuck a girl's yum. However, there's nothing yummy about this to me.
Shocking point of view on this. Surprised.
I don't even want to serve at a bar 100 men. Oh, God, the amount of jokes I have to pretend laugh at.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did mention that condoms were used. I don't know, man.
As far as the Airbnb part goes, filming it, you can't do, because now that's someone's home that is now associated with this stunt that they did not necessarily want to be a part of. But maybe if there weren't a camera, I don't know that it's awful. I mean, I guess I wouldn't want it in my home, but like I think about hotels. Sometimes you just don't want to know what went down in that room before you got there or when you weren't there.
Oh, yeah.
Better to just not think about it.
Yes, completely. It goes back to Jonathan's whole thing about, disclosing what bad things happened at a property or not. He's like, look, if it's an old enough place, somebody died there, and you can choose to sort of ignore that. We don't need to say much because, if it's a pre-war, my place, 1921, 4 or 5 people at least have died here in this room, and aside from me just saying that now, I usually choose not to think about that much. Goes double if you're Airbnb, Well,
and my first thought was, good luck trying to get another Airbnb after this, now that everyone knows your name and your score. However, for every person who thinks yuck when they hear this, there is someone with a swanky pad who will be fine with it. And so I think for her stunt of 1,000, she will be able to find someone to rent her a home. She will.
You're absolutely right. I almost think in a weird way that a lot of the dudes that were being interviewed for dating's expensive and complaining in that article, they would allow their place
Yeah.
to have to make a little extra cash for their dates. Yeah, I mean, bless her. I really worried about her overall sanity and health for going for 1,000. I guess I am for 100 too, but
Yeah. I mean, so much of the conversation is about her, but what about these guys who all signed up for
uh,
this?
uh,
You know, it's like every guy wants a virgin until they have the option to have 99 Eskimo brothers.
well, I don't know one guy that wants a virgin. I think that there are certain religions that preach this because these guys have never had sex before, but I definitely don't think a guy wants to be in line.
Yes. Which apparently it seemed like they were a bunch of workmen on lunch.
Yes, there was a line. There was absolutely a line there, but a discreet one because nobody seemed to have found out. But oh, Lily, I want to help her in so many ways. Actually, I kind of want to keep my distance.
Well, this was a great show.
I think so. I think we've learned a lot and outed a lot of clients of Lily's. Joe, before we go, what do you got?
Here's a little more you, Joe. All right, if you are coming to New York City and you want to see a really good musical, highly recommend Maybe Happy Ending. It is an original musical, which you don't see a lot these days. It's all based off of a pop star or it's a revival. So this is new music. It stars Darren Criss, who was in Glee. He was in The Assassination of Gianni Versace. He's done a bunch of Broadway. And then there's a lot of Broadway debuts in the show. And it's a Korean musical. And it's about two helper bots. It takes place in the future.
I know this one, yes.
And it's about the helper bots and the relationship that they form with each other. So it's really cute, really heartfelt. And it's only an hour and a half, no intermission. So recommend.
That seems to be the trend these days. And I am very for it.
Anything you have, Bill?
January 24th couldn't come soon enough. The next Bowery Boys Walk. Just go on Bowery Boys Walks, people. Look, I know it's cold, but you're walking, you get your steps in, you put it on enough layers like Joe did. And Joe's very fragile, and she was very warm. Yeah. So that's just go on there and find the Turtle Bay walking tour once. But that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks all for listening, watching, subscribe, do all that stuff. We love you. Bye.
Oh, I'm sure glad that's over.
That's all for this episode of Mornin with Bill and Joanne.
I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts.
Shut up, Bill.
Subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you get podcasts.
Yeah, I wasn't listening either.
Very nice, Joanne. Touché.
For videos of this and other episodes, go to @MorninBillAndJoe on YouTube.
Bill, put the sword down.
Run, Joanne, run!
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We would do it for you. Okay, that's a lie.
I never liked your show.
Sorry, wasn't listening. See ya.